Hi, this is Christa at The Secret Yarnery. Today I'm going to show you how to chain and how to turn it into a sweet little bracelet. To make a chain, you'll need some yarn. I'm using a 4-weight worsted acrylic. I prefer a 6mm, but you can use whatever you have. You'll also need a pair of scissors. You will need one button, a needle for thread, and some thread. So let's get started. To make your bracelet, just start by making your slip knot any which way that you are comfortable with. Shrink that down and put it on your hook. You want to leave a tail 4 or 5 or 6 inches. You want to be able to sew it in with a needle later. So remember to hold your work underneath that last stitch you made and keep a little bit of tension on your working yarn and do your chain. If you're not familiar with how to do your chain, you can refer to class number 3 where we did slip stitch and chaining. So now pause the video and just keep working on your chain until it is 90 centimeters or 36 inches long. When you have a nice long chain, go ahead and cut your yarn and pull your hook up and your yarn through. So all the way up, just like that. And you can snug that down now. That is going to be your knot at the end of your bracelet or the end of your chain. And now we want to sew in these tails. So grab your needle. I'm going to be using a sharp tip needle for this because I want my tail to really stay in that work. But you can use your blunt tip if you don't have a sharp tip yet. I'll put a link to these in the description box down below. So just thread your needle. And now we would just want to take our tail back down through the fat part of our work. So I don't want to be feeling my needle on either side. And I want to take it down maybe 5 or 6 stitches or 5 or 6 chains. Just pulling it down through. We don't want to pull too tight because we'll get a little lump on this side. We just want to pull it like usual and give it a little stretch so it stays looking normal. And now we want to go back in the other direction. If we just cut our yarn here, our little tail will come out and it'll need a haircut every now and again. So we want to take it back in the opposite direction. So just using your finger and thumb to feel your chain, just to make sure you don't feel your needle. It doesn't have to go all the way back to the end, maybe back 4 stitches. Just bring it through. We don't want to pull too tight. Stretch it out so it's happy. And now we can go ahead and cut that tail. If you're using a blunt tip needle, you might want to go back in the other direction one more time for a total of 3. So thread your needle on the other end. And now we want to get our button, and we want to just kind of make a buttonhole, a little loop with our chain. And we want to just test where we need to be sewing in our tail to make a little loop. We want it to be tight, but we still want our button to get through. We want it to be a bit snug. So that's pretty good. Go ahead, make sure your chain's not twisted. And by not twisted, I mean I want all of these V's facing the same direction. So it's nice and flat on the one side. So now I'm just going to stitch my tail or my end straight where I want my, how big I want my loop to be. Just like that. And now I'm going to sew in my tail nice and snug because this is going to get pulled quite a bit, getting that button in and out of it. So I'm going to go down into my bracelet, just using my finger and thumb to make sure I'm not feeling my needle on any side. It's a little bit out there, isn't it? Bringing that tail down snugly and then stretch it so it's not too tight. And now I'm going to bring it up. Like that, and we could even sew it in one more time. Just a little bit, being careful not to pull too tight because that'll make your chain kind of mess up a bit. So just a bit in, there we are, and now we can cut that off. Like that. So we have our little buttonhole on the one side and just sewn in on the other. And now thread your sewing needle with your sewing thread. And then find your 2 tails of your thread and give those a knot. It's easier to sew in with the 2 strands. I'm just going to trim that tail a little bit. Take your button. Now I have one of these buttons that has just the one eye at the back of it. That looks really cute, but you can use any kind of button. And just put your needle and thread through that buttonhole. And then through, like in between those 2 strands of thread, so that my button is now attached to my thread. And now needle into this last little bit. So now I'm going to put my needle in on one side and back up. And I'm not even putting my needle there first. I'm just going to eyeball where I want it to be without my button being there. So in and out. Now I'll pull my button up and onto it and just sew your button on. So into your button and into your chain a few times. When your button is nice and secure, go through your yarn. And before you pull it all the way through, you'll have a little loop left. So go in to that loop. You want to go in twice. So once and twice in the same direction. And then shrink that down. That holds it a little tiny bit. And now knot it again on top of what you just did. And that'll hold it on. Knot one more time. There we go. If you're going to use this needle and thread again, you can go ahead and knot it, leaving about 1 centimeter or 1/4 inch between your knot you made to hold on your button and the knot you're just putting on your thread. And then you can go ahead and just cut between those 2. Just like that, and now your needle is ready to go next time, and your button is nicely sewn on. So now take your button and your bracelet, keeping the pretty side facing out, wrap it around your wrist as many times as it fits. And then using that end, just slide it around your button. And there is your super cool bracelet and your chain. So you can go ahead and make as many of these as you like, as long as you like. You can make them with less wraps or more wraps, different colors, anything you really want to do. And this will help you get really good at chaining. So I hope you liked this tutorial as much as I did. I hope you're enjoying chaining and enjoying crochet. You can tag me over on Instagram. I'd love to see yours at Secret Yarnery, or Facebook, The Secret Yarnery. We also have a Facebook group, The Secret Yarnery Crochet Community. Lots of great crocheters on there. Great place to ask questions. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell beside that so you don't miss out on any quick and easy tutorials just like this. Thanks for hooking along. We'll see you in the next video, and stay hooked.